But let me first start by maybe, I don't know if it's a correct observation of mine or not, but you were talking about the indoctrination of liberalism through education, and I have made the observation that, or that's how I feel, that the people who are more educated or get to a higher level of education, are more prone to get affected by this philosophy, liberalism, than people who, let's say, are less educated or didn't get into the higher education, the realm of higher education, universities and stuff like that. So do you think that's like a reason for why we feel that lots of Muslims who engage in academia and so on, they are more prone to be affected by liberalism and start to, see the Quran and the Sunnah as something metaphorical, not something which has to be taken seriously? Do you think that's the right observation, or what do you think about that?
I think that sociologically, there's evidence to suggest that Muslims with more money in the West are more likely to be attracted to liberalism than Muslims with less money. For instance, in California, well, I've been to California, I've been to like 4 different places there. And if I compare it with London, which the Muslims in London are very like of a working class background, I have found that what you're saying is true. And it's probably because of the pressure to fit in. A lot of this is psychological as well. I mean, when, for example, when America was letting people in, Muslims in, to come and immigrate into the country, they were letting people in that would add value to their economy. After World War II, the British economy, or the British even Britain as a country, was infrastructurally damaged because of the Second World War, and they wanted to bring in members of their previous colonies who were blue-collar workers to fix up the country. So obviously those people were not doctors and engineers. These people were just blue-collar workers. They brought them into the UK, and then they ghettoized certain communities. So we have entire places now in East London where there's a lot of, poorer people. I'm not sure if this is a very similar situation in because Germany is a bit unusual, because it's not, Germany is one of the most unusual cases. In Britain, we have people that have been that were part of previous colonies coming to Britain, like Indians and Pakistanis, right?
Yeah.
In France, you have people that are part of, Algeria, Morocco, former colonies that come to France. But in Germany didn't colonize, any of the major countries of the Muslim world. So you have a lot of Turkish people. The majority of Muslims in Germany, as far as I know, are Turks.
Turkish, yes.
And Germany never colonized the Ottoman Empire. But it's probably because of the proximity or some geography. But whatever happened. So it's, once again, I don't know if this whole working class distinction fits your paradigm or in your culture as much as it does in the UK and the US. Nevertheless, those people that came to America were doctors and engineers, and so they are, depending on what part of America now, because if we're talking about California, a lot of them had excess wealth and they were employed by, high profile places. And obviously if you're going to work every day, okay, and the people around you, they are ethically liberal, then al-mar'u ala dini khalili, at the end of the day, the believer is on the religion of his friend. It's difficult to be so practicing if everyone around you is a liberal. You're going to be a bit like them because you want to fit in. It's a psychological thing. But if you go to Philadelphia in America, where the majority of Muslims, they are black converts, this is a ghettoized community of Muslims who are likely to put the proverbial middle finger up to the West and the people that they consider the slave masters, and their attitudes is sometimes completely different, and sometimes in a positive way, because they don't have the shubuhat. I mean, if I were to ask you a question, right? If I had like 10 questions, like the 10 most morally understood shubuhat in Islam, yeah, I
Yes.
don't know, the had, the punishment, the
Yes.
sadaqah, this and that, ta'addud al-zawjat, all of these things.
Yes.
Let's go to Philadelphia and let's see how many, let's do a sociological study and see how many of those people, they have a problem with that. In Philadelphia, the polygamy is going on like nobody's business. It's happening more in Philadelphia than it is happening in the whole of Egypt, I believe. No, everyone is doing it there. They don't have an issue with it,
Yes.
morally, ethically, or otherwise. They don't care about liberalism. These people, I'm
Yes.
not generalizing. Some of them do, but most of them, believe me, they're not going to be affected by that because they've always been used to being part of a subculture. Black
Yes.
Americans have always been part of a subculture, and when they come into Islam, they find Salafism very attractive because it's the most rambunctious sect, which gives you the most, like, if you like, in their understanding, raw kind of Islam, and they'll put the middle finger up to the entire of the USA and everything. I'm not generalizing, but this is the attitude. I've been there. I know what it feels like, right? But when you go to California, you have to be different because the kind of the Asians there, if you want, subcontinental Asians, they got this kind of reputation to protect, and they've been affected by their white liberal friends usually. And California is a blue state, is always been a blue state, a democratic state. So it's always different. So yeah, I agree with your analysis, and I think the reason why your analysis is correct is it's usually because when you have money, you're in the social in the West, you're going to be in socialized groups of people who have the dominant ethic. And
not only in the West, I made the same observation in Egypt. I was born and raised in Egypt.
Yeah.
So I had the observation that the higher class citizens, those who go to German schools, American schools, I don't know, Canadian schools, and so on, they are a lot more prone to get affected by liberalism, by these shubuhat of hudud and
yes,
things like da' al-khalq lil-khalq. Leave the people to Allah, to their creator. Leave the created to the creator, basically.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, it's once again, it's they've got it in their education systems as well. I mean, if they go to a British school in Egypt or something like that, most likely they're being taught by some expat, who's getting good money, maybe 40,000-50,000 pounds, and he's paying little rent because in Egypt the rent is not as expensive, and he wants to go there, save some money, come back to the UK and live his life. And obviously he's going to bring with him all of his dominant ethics, so he's going to teach them what he believes in.